You ever have one of those moments where you realize your whole life, your home, your memories, the only real thing you own is suddenly dangling over a cliff, and the person holding the scissors is someone in a floral muumuu with a clipboard? Yeah, that was me standing there as Karen, the president of the Oakage Homeowners Association, told me in her sweetest courtroom voice that I had 30 days before my property wasn't mine anymore. She meant it too. She had a stack of papers and a smirk like she'd just been named Queen of the Mountain. You could hear the wind rustle through the pines, and I swear even the squirrels paused to watch. Let me tell you, if you've never had someone try to take your home because of a bird feeder and the color of your wood stain, count yourself lucky. But you stick with me because this isn't just a story about fighting a fine. This is about what happens when you hand the wrong person a little bit of power and they mistake it for a license to rule. And let me tell you right now, she thought she'd won. She thought a piece of paper could erase 20 years of blood, sweat, and memories. She was wrong. Now, just so you know, I didn't start this war. It started with a letter, just a plain envelope reeking of cheap perfume and self importance. That's how these things always begin, right? Not with a bang, but with a bureaucrat's sigh. The color of memory, that's what set it off. The cedar stain my grandfather and I picked out 25 years ago, just the right shade. Every board on that cabin, every beam was a chapter in our story. We'd built that place together on land I bought with my Army reenlistment bonus, raised it up tree by tree. And back then, my only neighbors were deer and maybe a bear or two on a lucky day. Then the world changed. Some developer snatched up 300 acres around me. Paved roads brought in underground utilities, and with them came a parade of people who'd never had mud on their boots. And, of course, a shiny new HOA. But see, my place was grandfathered in, literally written in the deed. I paid a road fee kept to myself, and life was simple. For a while. Then Karen showed up. Oh, you've met her type, haven't you? Never had real power, but now she's got a board, a gavel, and a list of rules as long as your arm. She saw my cabin a little too rustic, a little too real for her taste. The first letter was about the wood stain, said it wasn't one of the approved shades. Can you believe that three choices: desert sand, gentle fawn, or something else that looked like a paint chip from a waiting room? I sent back my deed. All polite showed the section saying my place was exempt. Figured that'd be the end of it. Nope. She doubled the fine, tacked on a $50 admin fee, and claimed the board had reviewed and found my claim without merit. Now that's a lie, plain and simple, but it told me what kind of fight this was going to be. She didn't want compliance. She wanted submission. So I started a file. 20 years in the Army teaches you something: document everything. I built a binder. Thick black, every letter, every receipt, every threat. And just as I figured, it didn't stop. Next, she went after my daughter's Father's Day bird feeder, said it broke the rules. Another fine. Then, another for not paying the first one fast enough. Every week, a new letter, a new demand, a new made-up fee. That original $100 ballooned to thousands, and every response I sent, every piece of proof was just ignored. She didn't want to read the truth. She wanted to win. I watched her cruise by in her golf cart, always on the lookout for something to write up. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about rules. It was about conquest. I was the last holdout. She wanted my land, my story erased. The fines kept coming. The language got nastier. We're talking about community harmony disruption fees. That's not even a real thing. But Karen, she made it real. You can't reason with someone who thinks rules are for making enemies. So I switched tactics. Reconnaissance. I pulled every public document, every bylaw, every meeting minute from the county clerk. Sat up at night, coffee strong enough to strip paint, and dug for inconsistencies. Took about 20 minutes to find a gold mine. Turns out Karen was skipping steps fines issued without warning, meetings that never happened, expenses paid out to companies that didn't even list real addresses. It stank. But paper only gets you so far. I started walking the neighborhood talking to folks. Found out I wasn't the only target. Mr. Garcia fined $500 for leaving his trash can out a couple hours because his wife was sick. Helen's sweet old lady with the garden gnomes violation notice for undignified statuary. I saw real fear in their eyes, the kind that comes from someone messing with the roof over your head. That was my twist, the thing Karen never saw coming. It wasn't just me, it was all of us, each getting squeezed a little until it hurt too much to fight alone. So I collected their stories. My binder grew thicker. The foreclosure notice she handed me was just the final act, her big play. But it was also her mistake. Now, I wasn't just some stubborn old veteran. I was the tip of a very angry spear. I knew this was bigger than me, so I called in a friend. Marcus, my old army buddy, sharpest lawyer I know, showed him my binder. He went from curious to furious in about 5 minutes. She's sloppy, he said, pointing out how Karen broke about half a dozen laws. He laid out a plan, get an injunction counter. Sue dragged them through court. But I didn't just want to win. I wanted to end her whole racket. See, there is something Karen didn't know. Before I started my own construction consulting, I founded a title insurance company, Northwood Title, and Escrow. We handled the policies for every single house in this subdivision, including the clubhouse Karen loves so much. When she tried to foreclose on my place, she didn't just mess with me. She threw the whole community's real estate market into chaos. With Marcus, we set a trap. We sent legal responses, but held back just enough to let her dig in deeper. Meanwhile, I started reaching out to the neighbors, quietly. Old-fashioned, hand-delivered notes inviting them to my workshop. No paper trail Karen could get her hands on. Thursday night, 7 p.m. Just coffee and conversation. They showed up nervous, clutching their own piles of HOA nastiness. I told them my story showed them the foreclosure notice, and then the dam burst. Everybody had a story. Fines for nothing, threats letters designed to scare. That's when we decided to get organized. We formed our own committee, kept records pooled every letter and every receipt. We were done fighting alone. Then we hit the board with 3 things all at once: a massive records request, the kind that takes weeks to process a formal legal counterclaim, and, most devastating, a letter from Northwood Title, my company. That letter warned that because of ongoing litigation and evidence of illegal board activity, we'd be pausing all title insurance for the subdivision. No sales, no refinancing, nothing until this got sorted. Suddenly, Karen's little game wasn't just about me. Every homeowner, every realtor, every lender felt it. The market froze. People panicked. The board tried to stonewall us, but that just made it worse. I can still hear Bob from the board, red-faced, calling me up, demanding to know what I'd done. I told him straight it wasn't me, it was Karen. She was the reason nobody could close a sale. While they scrambled, we went public. Mr. Garcia built a website. We put up every redacted fine letter, every crazy rule. We shared the laws Karen had broken and created a private Facebook group. Suddenly, people who'd been afraid started talking. The stories piled up. She'd been running this shakedown for years. But it took one person to connect the dots. Next, I sent a press kit to a local reporter, Sarah Jenkins. She had a reputation for shining a light where people didn't want it. The story blew up on the evening news. My cabin, Helen's gnomes, Garcia's trash can, all of it. Karen became the face of HOA tyranny overnight. The board panicked, calls flying. But it was too late. Lenders refused to write loans, sales collapsed, and everyone in Oakage Estates saw who the real threat was. Karen called an emergency meeting packed to the walls. News cameras, angry neighbors, tension so thick you could taste it. She tried to blame me, called me a troublemaker, said I was using my company to hold them hostage. But the crowd wasn't buying it. When it was my turn, I rolled out the projector one by one, showing her violations, the illegal meetings, the fake fines. Marcus stood up, explained how board members could be personally liable. That was the final straw. Bob, desperate to save his own skin, moved for a vote of no confidence. The crowd roared. Karen, so sure of her power, lost it all in under 5 minutes. She resigned the next morning, no apology, just a one-line email. We, the committee, took over. First act void, every single fine she'd issued that broke the rules. Just like that, the debt vanished. But it didn't stop there. We opened the books. Turned out she'd set up shell companies and spent HOA money on herself. Lavish dinners, shopping sprees, payments for a luxury car. It was embezzlement pure and simple. We handed everything to the district attorney. 6 months later, Karen was indicted, facing real justice at last. With a new board, transparency became the norm. We rewrote, the worst covenants held open. Meetings rebuilt trust. I sent word to Northwood Title Me as both board president and company owner that the storm had passed. We lifted the title hold, the real estate market thawed, and Oakage became, for the first time in years, a community again. So here I am, back on my porch, the sun warm, the cabin just as my grandfather and I built it. The same stain, the same front porch. My daughter's faded bird feeder swinging from the oak chickadees coming and going. Friends coming by later. Helen with a new gnome. Garcia's kids playing in the yard. The victory isn't loud. It's quiet. It's solid. It's earned. And I'll tell you what I learned. Power in the wrong hands can turn neighbors into prisoners. But if you stand your ground, if you gather your allies and hold fast to the truth, you can turn paperwork into armor and community into a shield. We didn't win by yelling louder or fighting dirtier. We won by being smarter and more disciplined by refusing to back down. Now let me ask you, what would you have done? Where's the line between fighting back and going too far? Have you ever tangled with a bully in power? Share your story, because trust me, someone out there needs to know they're not alone.